Recently, the YouTuber Kwite got cancelled. His accuser made a Twitter thread exposing Kwite, saying Kwite did things to them non-consensually. Now, for the past 2 weeks, the internet has been completely split. Who's in the right, who's in the wrong. Until today, Kwite has finally responded with a video titled, "For the Record." Now, it's 1.5 hours long, so in case you were itching on skipping a Marvel movie, now would be a good time. Now, if you're interested in the SparksNote version of events, you can watch this video. If you want the whole version, goodbye. Anyways, here's the scoop.
This is my response to several allegations made against me. This is patently false and completely untrue. I have a lot of evidence to share backing what I say in this video, including a recording of Orion giving a testimony of this exact interaction from late 2018 that directly contradicts his current version of events.
Now, you might be asking, how do we know if this is true or false? Because in the case of an R-word allegation, it's really hard to tell without like a camera or something. But in this case in particular, the evidence is mounds and mounds and just piling up, and it really seems like Kwite has completely exonerated himself. Kwite has come with some extremely solid receipts that aren't just irrelevant Discord messages, and there's in fact audio clips that capture exactly how the accuser was feeling when the incident happened. Now, after seeing their absolute 180 shift in tone over these years, it seems downright psychotic. Keep in mind that the initial allegation is that Kwite did not stop during intercourse, and Kwite claims that they didn't even have intercourse. The most they exchanged was a kiss.
And I have no idea why Orion would this egregiously and ridiculously fabricate a crime of this magnitude. This clip is of Orion describing the same day the assault allegedly took place in a video 4.5 years ago, where he has a very different account of how he felt about that day, even in hindsight looking back at it.
Cut to February, where we met up for the second time, and I remember it was February because we went to see Black Panther. It was fun, and I distinctly remember him getting out of my car, but stopping midway and saying, "Just remember, I really care about you," and then closing the door, which made me feel really good because, you know, this was my best friend. We had met up for the second time. He still cares about me.
Wow, made me feel really good. That really sounds like a brave victim right there. Someone who definitely got R-worded recently. I don't know about you guys, but describing the experience as really good right next to the date it happened, while also saying that the R-worder actually really cares about me, is a huge red flag. Gonna be completely honest, this just looks extremely slimy.
I did kiss Orion once. That's it. That's all we ever did. Immediately after, I was feeling weird about it. I wasn't exactly enthusiastic about the event in the first place, and I didn't want to go any further with it, so we didn't.
Now, Kwite also highlights in the situation that Kwite actually wasn't the pushy one. It was them that constantly wanted to escalate things into maybe even intercourse. And this is proved through some of the messages that he shows.
Nah, you can't dodge the smooch. It will find you, and it will smooch when you least expect it. There is no dodging, only smooch.
Now, keep in mind, this isn't definitive proof that Kwite never wanted to escalate, but the way it fits into this feature-length film over here, it definitely adds up. And I'm sure if there were messages of Kwite saying that, "Oh, I really want to frick you so bad," I'm sure it would have been included in the original expose. So I'm definitely going off these messages over here, and Kwite seems innocent.
Orion had a disregard for my personal choices and boundaries that I had expressed to them, often persisting beyond me showing clear discomfort and continuing to press even when I had directly declined the physical intimacy he would propose.
Okay, so Kwite is pulling out the switcheroo over here. He's basically saying that it's actually Orion that was the one that disregarded Kwite's boundaries. Ain't that a steaming sack of balls?
Being told over and over again I did the worst version of that to somebody else when I know what it feels like from experience has been soul-crushing.
Now, throughout the course of this video, Kwite shares a lot of intimate details regarding his life, most notably his face, his history actually being a victim of such type of assault, and the most intimate details of his relationship life. He talks about how he struggles ever escalating to the freaking point because, I don't know, he might be paranoid or something like that, or he might not be comfortable in certain situations. I'm fairly certain this experience has definitely left a scar on him, and he's gonna have a very tough time pursuing additional new relationships. My only question regarding this whole thing is Orion going to go to jail for lying? Because the damage you were potentially going to do to Kwite was equivalent to the damage he would have done to you. So I feel like false accusers should definitely go to jail as well.
I texted him on his phone because I had his phone number, as well as I'd met his parents, I had his address, I have a lot of secrets on him because we were best friends.
This video came off as malicious to me when it was first released and still does now.
So you guys gotta understand one thing. Basically, Orion is the person who has a lot of intimate details regarding this big figure known as Kwite. He knows his family, his face, his intimate DMs, and everything. So when this relationship didn't work out, it was horrible for Kwite. So Kwite moved on, obviously, as you do as a normal person, and the other person was left feeling extremely salty. So salty that after pondering it over it for 5 or 6 years, they decided to change the entire story and expose Kwite. Now, luckily, Kwite had an extremely well-prepared response, honestly. We've seen this before with Pyrocynical as well, but I genuinely was getting scared for a while because he took a very long time in response. But I totally understand now, considering how long the video is and how many of his intimate details he actually had to expose. It must have been heartbreaking.
I think taking pictures of my face that he assured me I could trust him with and sharing those pictures with people I don't know is a breach of that trust. And the way he has now used those pictures to dox me and make these kind of false accusations has proved that my initial fears were correct.
Don't ever get into relationships with crazies, guys. That's probably the only moral of the story here. This person is absolutely batshit insane, and I don't think they realize that doxing someone's face, especially a hidden public figure like Kwite, is an actual crime, and you can definitely face repercussions for it. Now, is Kwite actually going to pursue them and take them to court? I'm gonna guess not, because it's a giant headache and just proving everything will be really hard. But honestly, that is genuinely the lowest of the low, and you might have ruined his entire career because he was probably only comfortable being on the internet all masked up. As you'll see later, he questions even if he's gonna continue his career.
As someone who has not only just gone through the falsely accused side of this, but someone who has also made the same mistake of acting too quickly on allegations and hurting people I cared for because of it. This type of thinking is harmful and needs to stop. It is absolutely a good and noble policy to support victims when they speak. You should support their ability to speak and not ridicule them for speaking, but the saying is trust but verify.
Now, Kwite finally responds to the age-old Slazo drama. So if you guys didn't know, many years ago, a YouTuber named Slazo, with about 1 million subscribers, was falsely accused of something similar to this situation by a girl named Shay. Now, all of Slazo's friends immediately supported the accuser, even helping her write the initial coming out document consisting of majority lies. Now, some of the people that helped her in writing this expose was infamously I'm Alex, who got most of the heat, and his group of his friends. And one of these friends included Kwite. Now, people are saying this is just a law of the universe and Kwite deserves this because this is just karma coming around. You could argue that Kwite did contribute to Slazo's entire career and reputation being ruined, and there was no compelling evidence suggesting Slazo did any of what he was accused of. Yet despite this, Slazo was thrown under the bus by Alex and his group of friends. So what they're saying is, it's fair enough that Kwite has to go through the same thing Slazo did, you know, what goes around comes around, but in my opinion, this is way past punishment over here. I don't think any human being has to suffer like this and get falsely accused. This is pretty much like, I don't know, every man's worst nightmare. While I agree that it was a shitty thing to do and he should not have blindly believed Shay and should have remained neutral in the situation, I do think he's understood his mistake and he's taking responsibility for it, at least now, and he should be forgiven.
It's because I saw Slazo as a friend that how I handled those allegations wasn't good enough. I failed him as a friend by believing what I saw wholesale and not doing the bare minimum of what he deserved, by not even waiting for him to give his side before making a judgment. An event that has now echoed itself in my life. I have felt guilty that he suffered like that, at least in part because of my negligence ever since, and now I can directly relate to him after going through all this shit. I feel like I owe that guy a third apology, and still nothing I do will make up entirely for what I helped put him through.
I genuinely think this is very sincere, honestly. He totally understands, and I think it's time for people to finally forgive him. I mean, people have been holding this over Kwite's head for so long, and fair enough, it's a very horrible thing to do. It's messed up that all of his friends were egging him on to join. It was a dumb thing to do, and I think he takes responsibility, but nobody really deserves this, you know?
I'm going to be taking some time off, at least a month. I don't know when or if I'll be back. I'm not entirely sure if this whole thing or the nature of this job is for me anymore. That's all for now.
So it seems like Kwite is going to be taking a break from this whole situation. I genuinely do not blame him. I'm not going to blame him even if he completely disappears from the internet entirely. This has got to be an insanely traumatizing experience. Ironic, honestly. But judging by the comment section, a lot of you guys were pretty much neutral, so I respect that. Thank you for not jumping on anyone. That's it. Bye-bye.